Hello everyone. Today I, Harmeet Thakur, will be giving a presentation along with my team members Arshpreet Kaur, Harjeet Singh and Shobit Kumar. The world is currently facing a recession due to COVID-19 pandemic. The Australian government and the Reserve Bank of Australia have undertaken various measures to tackle the economic challenges caused by the pandemic. These policies aim to support the Australian economy by addressing key issues such as unemployment, inflation and output level. Case 1. Examine the policies undertaken by the government and RBA and the impact of these policies on unemployment, inflation, and output level. Case 2 examines the implications of the JobKeeper payment on the Australian government's expenditure and the impact of this policy on the output gap and full employment. Case 3 examines the RBA's decision to make a 4 consecutive cash rate increases in response of rising inflation and the impact of these open operations on the overnight money market and over interest rates. These cases provide an in-depth analysis of the economic policies and decisions taken by the government and RBA to support the Australian economy during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Australian government RBF have undertaken various measures to tackle the economic recession caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. These policies aim to support the Australian economy by addressing the key economic issue of unemployment, inflation, and output level. Unemployment. To address the issue of unemployment, the government has implemented various policies such as Job Keep program, which provides financial support to business affected by the pandemic. The program aims to employees in their jobs and avoid layoffs. Additionally, the government has also announced a job maker hiring credit, which provides financial incentive to business the hire employees. The impact of these policies on the unemployment has been positive. The JobKeeper program has helped to keep the unemployment rate from increasing significantly, and the job maker hiring credit has provided an incentive for business to hire new employees. However, it is important to note that the unemployment rate is still relatively high, and the further policies may be needed to continue to support the labor market. Inflation. The RBA has implemented several monetary policies to address the issue of inflation. These policies include cutting the cash rate to a record low of 0.1%, purchasing government bonds to lower long-term interest rate, and providing liquidity to the financial system through various measures such as the term funding facility. The impact of these policies on inflation has been mixed. The cut in cash rate has helped to lower borrowing costs of businesses and households, which can boost economic activity. However, the low rate interest has also led to concerns about the potential for inflation to rise in the future, particularly such as economic recovers. Output level. The government has implemented several policies to support the output level of the economy, including the JobKeeper program, the job maker hiring credit, and various infrastructure projects. Additionally, the RBA has implemented monetary policies to support the economy by lowering borrowing costs and providing liquidity to the financial system. The impact of these policies on the output level of the economy has been positive. The JobKeeper program has job maker hiring credit have helped to support employment, which in turn supports economic activity. The infrastructure provides and monetary policies have also helped to boost economic activity by providing support for business and households.
Hello, I urge the Australian government introduced the JobKeeper payment as a response to the significant economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic was a implement of the Australian low income workers in a jobs and a support businessmen that been affected the pandemic. The payment has implemented for the Australian government expenditure to determine the current equilibrium level of the income in this economy. We can use the equation for a aggregate expenditure AE and aggregate income Y. The equation for the AE is following: AE is equal to C plus I plus G plus NX, where the C is consumer spending, I is investment, G is government spending, and NX is net exports. Substituting in the given information, we have A is equal to 800 plus 0.8, YD plus 600 plus 1000 plus NX. The equilibrium of level of the income Y is determined when the AE is equal to Y. Therefore, we can set the two equations equal to each other and solve the by 800 plus 0.8 YD plus 600 plus 1000 plus NX is equal to y. Y is equal to 1800 plus 0.8 YD, the current equilibrium level of the income in the economy is Y is equal to 1800 plus 0.8 YD. This means that the current level of the aggregate expenditure, the economy will achieve the equilibrium at the level of the income 1800 plus 0.8 YD. It is important to note that the above calculation is based on the assumption of the consumer spending, investment, government spending, and the net exports are the only factor affecting the equilibrium level of the income in the economy. Other factors such as inflation, foreign trade, and productivity are not taken into the account. Additionally, the calculation is based on the given information. To calculate the size of the output gap, we need to compare the current level of the income YFE to the full employment level of the income Y. The output gap is difference between the two levels and can calculate as output gap YFE minus Y is equal to 15,000 1800 plus 0.8 YD. The output gap is at 12,200 0.8 YD. An AE diagram illustrates the current equation station Woods shown as a AE curve representing the current level of the aggregate expenditure. Above the 45-degree line indicates the output of the gap. The AE current would be above the 45-degree in the line aggregate expenditure. The full employment level of the income where the AE is equal to Y and represented by the intersection of AE and 45-degree line depending on the value of the YD as it is a variable in equations such as the other factors that affecting the aggregate expenditure such as changing in consumer spending, investment, government spending, and net exports.
I Harjeet Singh. In order to close the output gap by changing government spending via job keepers payment, the government needs to increase the spending by the size of the output gap. The output gap can be represented as the difference between the full employment level of income YFE and the current equilibrium level of income Y. The equation for the output gap is output gap equal to YFE minus Y equal to 15,000 minus 1800 plus 0.8 YD. To close the output gap, the government needs to increase its spending by the size of the output gap, which is 1200 to 12,200 minus 0.8 YD. This means that the government needs to increase its spending by 12,200 minus 0.8 YD million dollars in order to achieve full employment. This increase in government spending would shift the aggregate expenditure AE curve upward and bring it to the 45-degree line, where AE equal to Y and represents the full employment level of income. This would lead to an increase in aggregate income and bring it to the full employment level. It's important to note that this calculation is based on the assumption that government spending is the only factor affecting the output gap. In addition, the government needs to make sure that the spending is targeted to the relevant sector that will help to close the output gap and also to ensure the spending is sustainable over the long run, as the increase in government spending can also lead to inflationary pressures. In order to close the output gap by the changing taxes, the government would need to decrease taxes to the increase consumer spending and investment. This would shift the aggregate expenditure AE curve upward and bring it to the 45-degree line, where AE equal to Y and represents the full employment level of income. We can use the following equation to calculate the changes in taxes needed. T1 equal to T0 minus YFE minus Y divided by MPC, where T0 is the initial level of taxes, YFE is the full employment level of income, Y is the current equilibrium level of income, and MPC is the marginal propensity into consume. By substituting the given value, we get T1 equal to 400 minus 15,000 minus 1800 plus 0.8 YD divided by 0.8. Taxes would need to decrease the 11,400 minus 0.8 YD for the economy to achieve full employment. This means that the governments need to decrease taxes by 11,400 minus 0.8 YD million dollars in order to achieve full employment. Decreasing taxes would lead to an increase in consumer spending and even investment, which would shift the AE curves upward and bring it to the 45-degree line, where AE equal to Y and represents the full employment level of income. It's important to note that this calculation is based on the assumption that taxes are the only factors affecting the output gap, that other factors such as inflation, for foreign trade, and productivity are not taken into account. Additionally, this calculation assumes that the consumer spending, investment, government spending, and net exports remain constant. In addition, the government should also consider the impact of decreasing taxes on the budget, deficit, and long-term sustainability of the economy. The government should also ensure that the decrease in taxes is targeted to the relevant sectors that will help to close the output gap and not just for the sake of increasing consumer spending.
Hi, my name is Shobit. The Reserve Bank of Australia made four consecutive cash rate increase in May-August 2022 in response to rising inflation. To alter the cash rate, the RBA engaged in open market operations. The flow chart of the open market operation is as follows. The RBA decided to increase the cash rate to control inflation. The RBA sells government bonds to commercial bank in the overnight money market. The commercial banks pay for the bonds with the funds from their reserves, which decreases the amount of money available in the overnight market. The decrease in the amount of money available in the overnight market leads to an increase in the interest rate on overnight loans, which is the cash rate. The impact of changes in the cash rate on their interest rate is that it affects the cost of borrowing for businesses and households. When the cash rate increase, the cost of borrowing also increase, leading to higher interest rate on loans such as mortgage, personal loan, and credit cards. This can lead to decrease in borrowing and spending, which can slow down economic activity. Additionally, an increase in the cash rate can also lead to an appreciation of the currency, making exports more expensive and imports cheaper, which can affect the balance of trade. In conclusion, the Australian government and the Reserve Bank of Australia have undertaken various measures to tackle the economic challenges caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. This policy aims to support the Australian economy by addressing key issues such as unemployment, inflation, and output level. In the case one, it has been demonstrated that the government and RBA policy have had a positive impact on employment, inflation, and output level. The government's fiscal policies such as JobKeeper payment have helped to support businesses and low-income workers, which in turn has helped to reduce unemployment. Additionally, the RBA's monetary policies such as the cash rate increase have helped to control inflation and support the economy's output level. In case 2, it has been shown that the JobKeeper's payment has implication for the Australian government's expenditure. Additionally, it has been demonstrated that the government can close the output gap by increasing government spending or decreasing taxes. However, it's important to note that these calculations are based on the assumption that government spending and taxes are the only factor affecting the output gap, and that other factors such as inflation, foreign trade, and productivity are not taken into account. The third case is that it has shown that the RBA's decision increasing the cash rate in order to control inflation has an impact on the overnight market and other interest rates. The RBA's market operation, which involves selling government bonds to commercial banks, have led to an increase in the interest rate on overnight loans, which is the cash rate. Additionally, the increase in the cash rate has led to an increase in the cost of borrowings for business and household and the appreciation of the currency. Thanks.